Picture up here right now. Actually, I'll kind of expand out the view and show you that we are looking at a severe weather event underway here across parts of the Deep South. Areas to our south have been a lot more significant with tornado potential. We've had a storm we've been watching near Tuscaloosa, now a little west of Birmingham, that has had at times a signature of tornado potential with that, perhaps even briefly touching down, and then other significant tornado threats across parts of eastern and southern Mississippi. Everything does continue to gradually build east. Individual storms are moving from the southwest off to the northeast. And again, we are going to have to watch Sand Mountain, which has been relatively rain-free. Still the potential that some of the activity near Birmingham, we're down into central Alabama, as it comes northeastward, might pose a severe weather risk in that area. But otherwise, for the time being, we are not faring too badly here across North Alabama. And again, let's kind of talk a little bit about why that is. I'll bring out the bigger picture now, and welcome to those of you that are joining us on Facebook at this time. We've been on our app and on our website doing a stream here just for a few minutes. You've not missed much, but appreciate you all tuning in. And if you want to chime in the comments, since we're not live on air right now, and I like to keep this a little bit more casual when we're on social media and we're doing the live stream. Be happy to answer any questions that you have. But let's kind of talk about what's going on. And it's some good news. And these things, and I'll always say this about severe weather forecasting, it's complicated. It's always complicated. It's not a super easy thing. You can see where we're going to have significant ingredients that could mean big severe weather, but there are also some of the intangibles, some of the things that don't always show up in the data that can reduce that. And so that's why in my severe weather coverage, I just want to be straightforward with people. I don't want to panic people. And this is the reason why, because this is not unfolding the way that we thought it would, and certainly the way it could have. Now, that's not to say that we are done with a severe weather threat here in North Alabama. I'm not saying that. But at least here in the short term, we're not seeing that significant tornado threat developing. And this is the reason why. And you maybe can hear it on my mic. It's raining above our heads right now. We have lots and lots of rain on the radar. So this is not a situation where we've got a line of storms moving through, and we've got the line, and then ahead of it there's nothing. Or a situation where we've got individual isolated storms that are developing outside of a larger shield of rain. That's not how things have transpired here in North Alabama this afternoon. We initially did have some robust storms that moved into the northwest corner of the state, and there was not much developing ahead of it. But with time, more and more rain developed ahead of that activity that did prompt tornado warnings for a little while out here in the northwest corner of the state. And kind of what's happening is this widespread rain and embedded thunderstorm activity that's developed. It's eating up some of the energy that storms would otherwise have all to themselves. So that is a good thing. And let me talk about that. And we talk about the severe weather ingredients a lot. So I do want to show you one of those. And again, kind of what is transpiring this afternoon. We've got really four main ingredients. It's kind of simplified, but four things that we look for when it comes to severe weather. We look at the wind shear. That's basically how are the winds changing in speed and direction with height. There's a certain wind profile that can support severe weather. You have to have a lift. You have to have something that is causing the air to rise from the ground and up into the atmosphere. That can be a cold front. That can be an upper level storm system coming on in that causes that lifting. That's kind of what in some cases really keeps thunderstorms going is that lift and allows them to sustain themselves. There's what we call instability in the atmosphere. That's a combination of a couple things. One is How does the atmosphere's temperature change with height? That's something that factors into instability. There's also something, a product that we use, and we'll sometimes show you, I call it storm fuel. The technical term, it's CAPE, which is convective available potential energy. And that basically, it's determined by the temperature change and the moisture profile, and basically how much energy there is available in the atmosphere. All those things are kind of tied together, but we kind of group all that together in the term instability. And then there's the moisture factor. You know, in most cases, this is just kind of a rule of thumb, the dew point temperature, which you hear us talk about a lot, which is a measure of the moisture in the air. If the surface dew point is mid-50s or below, kind of a rule of thumb that I always learned in school was you can't get a tornado in that sort of situation. There are some exceptions to that. But you also have to look at the moisture profile of the atmosphere. Is there sufficient moisture in the low levels? Is it humid enough? How deep is that moisture? And this is what is different from the way it looked yesterday. And I always say these things always look different on paper than the way they turn out in reality, and that is the case. So all the rain and the storm activity that's kind of developed and has become widespread, it's eating up the instability available in the atmosphere that maybe if you just had a handful of storms that they would all have to themselves. And it's also eating up some of this moisture as well. And when we talk about these severe weather ingredients, I always, and you probably get tired of me saying this, but I equate it to baking a cake. And you know, if you're a baker, if you don't have the right ingredients in the right amounts, whatever it is you're baking, whether it's a cake or otherwise, it's not going to turn out. And that's the same way with severe weather. You've got these primary ingredients. You have to have them in the right proportions relative to each other in order for severe weather to happen. And there can be cases where, you know, one can overcompensate, a little bit more of one thing can overcompensate for lack of another. But in most cases, if all these things are not firing on all cylinders, it makes things a little bit more complicated. And that's what we have going on. And I'm not complaining, absolutely. I never want it to storm. I never want bad weather. Many of you know that I was here for the April 27th, 2011 outbreak. And I don't ever want to have to go through that again, and I don't want you to either. So when these things don't work out, that's a good thing. And right now, it's not working out for us. Again, here's another look at the radar. Widespread rain, embedded thunderstorm activity. None of these individual thunderstorms have the ingredients that they need to get super organized and super strong, and that's a good thing. Let's kind of run you through here what we've got going on for the rest of the day. I'm going to show you some model data, and again, the models are just that. They're modeling the atmosphere. It's not exactly what always happens. I think it was, and many of you know James Spann, but I remember James Spann many years ago, and this is where I heard this from, is that models are guidance, but they're not necessarily the gospel truth. So they kind of steer us in the direction, but it doesn't mean that they're always right. So let's talk about the severe weather potential. This is just kind of one parameter that we can look at about the severe weather potential. And keep in mind, we've got that severe thunderstorm warning for northern Madison, northern Jackson County. And if we look at one of the severe weather ingredients, which is kind of a combination of the instability and the wind shear, you kind of merge those together and you get a product that can give us some indication of what the state of the atmosphere looks like. And you can see here, we've got a little bit of an uptick in that area, which is why we've got this severe thunderstorm warning. But we're also monitoring ahead of that activity coming out of Mississippi, maybe just a little bit of an uptick in overall severe weather potential. So that's why I'm saying we're not done yet, and I don't want you to think that we're completely done, and we're not until the last storm is cleared. But what I do want to show you, and this is different than if you were watching yesterday. I think I showed you this at 6, maybe at 10, I can't remember, but I showed you the same thing. We were seeing a lot more of this pink and purple color that was being forecast across North Alabama than what the newest data is saying is in place. Put this into motion. Let's take you into the early evenings. Notice there is a little bit of an increase in the potential. We may see some severe weather. And this is likely going to be right ahead of that last line that's coming at us out of Mississippi. So I don't want to say that we're done yet. We hit 10 o'clock in the evening over Sand Mountain. And again, this would be kind of the tail end, the last of the storm activity coming through. There's still a little bit of potential, but again, it's on the lower end of the scale. So yesterday it looked like we were going to be more up here in the pink and the purple, kind of a mid-range potential for seeing severe weather, to almost high range, than what we're seeing now. And again, that's because what was not forecast was the scope and the breadth of rainfall that we have in place this afternoon that's kind of gobbling up some of that storm energy. So let's take a look at, again, one of the computer models here. This is future radar. Picking up on some of the details, again, showing the activity here, Huntsville into Jackson, Madison into Jackson County, Huntsville to Scottsboro. Picking up on that little line of showers that I said is back in Mississippi, close to the state line, getting ready to come on through. So it's picking up on some of the features, including this expansive area of rain, which again is kind of gobbling up some of the energy. So let's kind of put this into motion for you, and we'll take you to 6 o'clock in the evening. And it still looks like we're going to have expansive rain. One of the things to note here, let me back this up, is the motion. And as I move this again, you're going to see the activity that's south of Haleyville coming up from the southwest. So that's why we're going to have to continue to watch what's happening down towards Birmingham, because some of that activity is going to move on in. Now the question is, have we gobbled up enough energy that when those storms make it into North Alabama, they're just not going to have enough energy to sustain themselves? And that's certainly a possibility. Sometimes these storms are the ones that get well organized, can kind of create their own environment, and can still keep going. You know, we've had situations like that lately. Thinking back to when we had the tornado that went through Tuscumbia, even though the one that went through Athens didn't look like the atmosphere was super primed for severe weather here in North Alabama, but we had a well-defined line of storms that was well organized, and even though once it got into North Alabama, the ingredients, or basically the ingredients didn't look quite sustainable for severe weather. That line was able to sustain itself, both of those, and produce some severe weather. So we don't want to necessarily say that, okay, even this stuff coming up from Birmingham is going to fizzle out before it gets here. That's not necessarily the case. So we're going to have to watch that. Let's take you up to 9 o'clock in the evening. We're finally going to be done here out towards the Shoals at that point. I-65 corridor probably winding things down. Sand Mountain, there's still going to be rain, embedded thunderstorm activity. But again, you look at this, and it's widespread. It's not individual storms. It's not one line coming through. It's a big mess, which is going to continue to complicate the forecast. But hopefully, complicating the forecast means we keep the severe weather threat minimal. 10 o'clock in the evening, the axis of heavier rain and storm activity right along I-59. This is probably worst case scenario as far as when all this is going to wrap up, and hopefully it'll be before then, but definitely by 11:30, midnight, I think we're done. So this is not something that's going to be keeping you up all night long here across the area. Again, another look here at 31 triple Doppler. Our main threats that we have currently, again, there is our severe thunderstorm warning for Madison, Jackson County, also Lincoln, Franklin County, Tennessee. I will say what's going on here is not real impressive to me on radar, so I think the overall potential for anything severe, be that damaging wind, hail, or tornado threat, probably pretty low. But maybe a little bit of gusty wind here along this leading edge from Franklin County on into northern Jackson County. But that's probably about it. The other concern that we have is the flooding risk. We are getting more and more reports of flooding as a result of the heavy rainfall. Just run through a couple of those. This is in Limestone County, Oak Grove at Bethel Road, Whitty Mill Road just off of Easter Ferry Road, some flooding there. Let's see. One report of a tree down in High Top, which is in Jackson County. And again, just numerous reports of flooding that are occurring. Again, Limestone County, Bethel and Miller Lane. Another out of Limestone County, Townsend Ford Road close to Monarch, and Fort Hampton and Cannon Road flooding. Lawrence County, Alabama, Alabama Highway 101 north of Town Creek is flooded. So mostly getting reports of flooding right now. That appears to be the biggest thing that we are currently dealing with here across the area. Let me flip on over here, check out my Facebook page, and let me see if I can run through a few questions here that if it's something that I haven't already discussed. Someone's a comedian. Is it supposed to rain today? Yes. But lots of people just chiming in, you know, thanking for the updates and the coverage. Allison reporting heavy rain, moderate winds near Hyatt and Marshall County. So glad it's not anything worse than that. David asking about anything else for Colbert County. Again, we're watching this little band of thunderstorm activity coming in to Colbert County, right on the state line right now. Maybe a little gusty wind out of this, but nothing that looks super organized at this point in time. But something that we are going to keep an eye on for you folks out towards the shoals. And this will probably be kind of the tail end of it, because you head west, and really there's not a whole lot on radar once you get beyond that. So that'll be kind of the tail end, I think, for you folks in the shoals. Let's see. Heath wanting to know, so Athens is good for the moment? Yeah, for the moment, Athens, you're fine. It's raining. That's it. Nothing worse than that. Jerry wanting to know, is the rough stuff over for harvest? Short term, yes. You did have the storm that came through. We were never tornado warned for northwest Madison County. It was back in Limestone County, but part of that storm did clip through. In fact, that was that part of the storm which prompted the severe thunderstorm warning, which looks like in the latest update from the Weather Service, they've canceled that, or at least allowed it to expire in Madison County, still holding on to a severe thunderstorm warning there in Jackson County. But at least around harvest here short term, not seeing anything of any concern. Again, we are going to have to watch, and I am going to take a look at that before and take a little breather here on the live stream. That's pretty much the questions. Let me get out of this. I'm going to check out the Waay Facebook page, where we're also live streaming, just to see. Looks like they're sharing, so I don't see any comments there. So let's see what we got here. So severe thunderstorm warning does continue for Franklin, Moore, and Jackson. Franklin and Moore counties in Tennessee, Jackson County in Alabama. So that continues. And severe thunderstorm warning now has just been issued out towards the shoals. So as I mentioned, here we go. This little band coming in right along the state line may produce some strong wind. Probably nothing more than that, perhaps some hail. We're going to get in there and take a look at it as well. So again, I don't think we're done with severe weather per se, but at least here short term, for most of the area, that tornado threat, particularly the threat for a significant tornado, appears to have waned, with the exception of what we are watching down towards the Birmingham area. So I do want to take a look here at this storm, and you can see it. Northwest of Birmingham, south of Jasper, the purple color, I believe it's purple, indicating confirmed tornado. So I'm going to switch some radars here. We're going to switch over to the Birmingham National Weather Service radar. That's going to be closest. And this storm is located, again, northwest of Birmingham. Here's Jasper, Carbon Hill, Interstate 22, going out there the north side of Birmingham. And again, tornado warning goes right up to Coleman County. So we're going to have to watch this storm and see what it does and see if it holds together. Because it could make a run into Coleman County, it could make a run into Marshall County if it can sustain itself as it moves into this area of somewhat stabilized rain-cooled air that we have in place here across North Alabama. Let me take a look at the velocity. We'll pinpoint, again, where that rotation is maximized. Let me check the updates here. Okay, so here's the circulation. Whitson, northwest of Birmingham. Look at the debris tracker. Don't see anything debris-wise, so that's good. But the actual warning, let me tell you what that says. This is tornado warning. Well, this is just saying radar confirmed. Normally when they do the purple box, that's, well, I guess radar confirm that maybe there was a debris signature as opposed to radar indicated, so that's the difference. So there must have been a debris signature at some point on this storm. Let's go back in time a little bit. Looks like maybe there was, briefly. So the expectation is that this storm could continue to hold together. So let me do a long-range track. Let me get an idea of the motion on it. Moving northeast at 45, which is pretty much what the storms have been doing. So let me clear this off. And we're going to track this out. Again, the storm is northwest of Birmingham. It is tracking towards Coleman County. Now I'm going to take this out. There could be a little deviation in the track, but taking it to the northeast, out about an hour and a half. Again, if it holds together, and we don't know that that's going to be the case. What I do know, although we are starting to see some rain kind of expand here beyond where this storm is. Prior to now, there wasn't this rainfall, so there was very much an undisturbed environment that this storm could pull in. Some of those atmospheric conditions and atmospheric ingredients to fuel significant storms, but now it looks like rain's kind of expanding, even some random lightning strikes out ahead of this. But if it holds together, if it maintains its structure, maintains a threat for a tornado, it is going to work its way into Coleman County. So coming into the, I think, Bremen area, 506. Hope that's correct. Amber, is that correct? Okay. I wasn't sure if that was right, if I was remembering that one correctly. Good Hope area by 519. Hanceville by 523. Blount County coming through Blountsville around 538. And then here we go into Marshall County. Again, if this storm maintains its structure and therefore would maintain a tornado threat, and that's a question mark right now, not a guarantee, but into Arab by 554 and Gunnersville a little after 6 o'clock. So we're going to be watching this. This is still a ways out. Coleman County, technically not our coverage area. That's part of the Birmingham area. But if this were to hold together and start making its way into southern Coleman County, we'd start tracking it towards Marshall County, as that would be next up. So keeping an eye on that particular thunderstorm, again, just northwest of the Birmingham area, to see if it continues to maintain its current structure, which could mean a threat for parts of North Alabama before it's all said and done. But again, it's possible that some of that storm fuel is going to be cut off or begun to be eaten up by other activity that develops outside of this. Still very strong velocity signature. You can see it here. Greens are blowing towards the radar in Birmingham. The reds and the pinks away. So you see where that circulation is showing up just southeast of Oakman, Alabama, off to the southwest of Cordova. So again, it is tracking in that direction towards Coleman, Blount, perhaps Marshall County. But at least here short term, our main focus is on rain and perhaps some isolated stronger storms that again are coming in across parts of northwest Alabama, same places where we had severe thunderstorm warning. Actually, the first severe thunderstorm warning of the day was out here, and it covered the same real estate from Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale County. This little band of storms that is coming through and just across the state line now. Nothing that looks super organized, but we're going to have to keep a watch here. And I'm going to do just a quick look at rotation. Nothing that really jumps out at me as far as any sort of substantial prospects of spin. But there is a lot of spin in the atmosphere. Now, that's one thing that, that storms and all this rain won't eat up is what we call the shear. That remains regardless of what's happening. So if something can tap into that, it could rotate, it could produce a brief tornado, but probably nothing more than that at this point in time if that were to happen. But for now, just a severe thunderstorm warning for the possibility, I think, for some strong wind gusts, maybe 50, 60 miles per hour. Quick look here at hail potential. None of that is showing up. So large hail, that was an issue with just the one storm. As we take another look, this is another way of kind of looking at the wind shear, what we call the rotation product, and not indicating anything that's particularly alarming here showing up with this particular storms, this band of storms coming in across western Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin County. One last look here, and then we're just going to take a little break on the streaming. We'll take a look at our radar, live radar out of Muscle Shoals. I just don't see anything here immediately looking at the wind velocity that's kind of jumping out at me that's saying that we've got any sort of big immediate issues with this particular thunderstorm coming on through. So then at the moment, I'm going to take just a little break here on the stream. We're going to leave the radar up. It is going to have any new alerts that come out on it. Again, the only alerts right now is severe thunderstorm warning, northern Jackson County, although that's kind of fizzling. And out here into the shoals, not super impressive little band of some heavier thunderstorm activity, but nonetheless, as that's coming in along the state line, moving into western parts of Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin County, maybe a little gusty wind with it. I think that's our biggest problem. And again, monitoring that tornadic storm, potentially tornadic storm, northwest of Birmingham that could make a run into Coleman County and from there perhaps Blount and into Marshall County if it can sustain itself. But again, that's a little bit in question at this point in time. But again, we're going to leave the live stream up here. I'll be back probably in just a few minutes with an update for you. Otherwise, just going to keep the radar up for now. I'm going to flip my mic off so you won't hear any audio. But we will be back on, of course, to give you some updates here on the live stream. for the live stream. I'm going to do that, and then I'll just go right into the 5 p.m. update from the live stream. So just count me in like normal for that. Thank you. Hey everyone, Waay 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle back on here on the live stream. We're also going to be doing a live cut-in at the top of the hour, 5 o'clock on air, so you'll hear me break away for that as I kind of reset what we're talking about. Tornado warning just did come out for Coleman County. Now, that's just outside of our coverage area, but I know there are some folks north of Coleman up towards Vinemont that can pick us up over the air. So I just want to talk a little bit about for those who may be following along here on social media or on our apps. And also just an early heads up for you folks in Marshall County. And when I went off and just left the radar up here on the live stream, that was one of the things I talked about as we were going to be watching this storm. In the National Weather Service in Huntsville, which covers Coleman County, has gone ahead and issued a downstream tornado warning for this particular storm that has likely produced a tornado. We had a tornado debris signature in Walker County, I believe, a little bit earlier. And we're still seeing strong indications of rotation showing up. This is looking at a wind shear product that's derived from the radar information. And we're still seeing that having crossed Interstate 22 and continuing to see that hold together. I will say, though, as we take a look at this storm, it is not as well, or it's still very, very well organized. Don't get me wrong. It is still an extremely well organized storm. It is not quite as organized as it was a little bit earlier. And the question remains, it is moving within a larger area of rain. We've had this larger shield of rain across North Alabama. And the question is, how is it going to respond to that? Is it still going to be able to maintain itself? And sometimes these well-developed, what we call supercell thunderstorms, takes them a little bit of a while to kind of wind down and the threat to diminish. But short term, there's still going to be the potential that this could produce a tornado. It's not quite in Coleman County yet, but it's almost there. At least the core of the storm, where the heavier rain and probably some hail is located, that is in the process of moving into Coleman County. So let me take a look here at the wind velocity, and we're still seeing a strong signature rotation showing up here. Birmingham radar is the one that's closest to this, so that's the one that I'm using. The green colors blowing toward the radar, you get into this pink and almost salmon color. That's wind blowing away, so you get this sense of counterclockwise rotation. Again, this has crossed over Interstate 22 there near Cordova and continuing to work its way towards Coleman County. Bremen is next in line here in the far southwest corner of Coleman County. So let me track out the area rotation. Again, this is all radar indicated right now. Quick look here. Let me check the debris tracker. I'm not seeing a debris signature showing up. So again, at this point, this remains just radar indicated rotation with this particular thunderstorm, unless there has been some change here. Okay, now they are going confirm. They are seeing at least maybe a little bit of a debris signature with this particular thunderstorm. I will say it's not real well defined. But let's kind of track this out into Coleman County. Like most of these storms, this one's moving northeast around 45 miles per hour. So this is going to be coming across Coleman County, very close to the city of Coleman. This is kind of the time of arrival. I don't have Coleman in this exact track, but it'll be very close, especially the south side of town. Bremen by 512. Dodge City by 520. The Good Hope area 525. Hanceville around 528. Simcoe around 540. And into Holly Pond around 544. Let me track this out a little bit longer. Kind of expand this. And this would be for a heads up for you folks in Marshall County. If this holds together and a downstream warning is issued for this and it makes it to Marshall County, this is approximately when it's going to get there. ARAB by around 5:52, so really it's about an hour or so out from making it here to ARAB in southwest Marshall County. and the Gunnersville area a little bit closer to 6 o'clock or slightly thereafter. So if this holds together and we get another tornado warning here, which probably would be good 30, 45 minutes out from if there is a tornado warning that will be extended into Marshall County, that's going to be that time frame. It's not going to be something immediate that's going to happen. But again, this is the approximate time of arrival, one side or the other, of 6 o'clock into that southwest corner of Marshall County around Arab, and maybe eventually making its way towards the Gunnersville area. But again, that's still a ways out, so we got a lot of time to watch this storm and see just how it changes and evolves with time as it continues on that track off to the north and east. And again, looking at the structure of the storm, it's still well defined. I would say it's not as well structured as it had been from when we were watching it earlier, myself and meteorologist Amber Kulick, keeping an eye on this one. But there's still well-defined rotation here, maybe losing its identity a little bit. And, you know, we're hoping that's going to continue to be the case as this storm, again, starts moving through an area where we have rain-cooled air. And as I mentioned earlier in the live stream, that can be kind of a slow process for a storm to really kind of lose its identity of this nature. But we are seeing perhaps a little bit of a downward trend as far as how strong the rotation is looking. It still looks very strong, now don't get me wrong. But it's not looking as potent as it had. And again, maybe we're just very subtle, so there might be something on the ground here. This is the debris tracker. That's kind of coincident with where we're seeing the circulation on the velocity product. So when you see those two kind of lined up, we may have something that's on the ground here. But hoping that this storm will continue to kind of lose its structure as it moves more to the north. There are a couple other areas we're watching. There's a storm here, not warned on, but it has a suspect look. And then also back to the northwest of Tuscaloosa, kind of the same path this storm took. Got another one, has a tornado warning on it. But we are starting to see kind of an expansion of rainfall, even across this area that was not there previously. Otherwise here for North Alabama, we are keeping an eye on still some storms out towards the shoals. I would say these on radar don't look incredibly alarming, but this little band of activity right inside the state line now coming east may bring a little gusty wind. Strongest part of this line is in Franklin County, stretching around Red Bay down towards Vina. Might bring some gusty wind with that, and that's a possibility. Otherwise, again, this is moving into just a large area of rainfall, which is really going to prevent this from organizing to any great deal. Quick look here at the wind velocity. If we're seeing anything concerning. In terms of rotation, there's a little bit of a wind shift. So again, with this severe thunderstorm warning for the shoals, I think our best chance for some gusty wind is here in Franklin County, a little bit of southwestern Colbert County, not so much up into Lauderdale County. So this is something that we'll watch here for, again, some gusty wind, but not seeing anything else that is alarming out of this. We're about a minute out from doing our on-air update. So I'm going to switch the radar up a little bit, and you're going to hear me talk to our television audience about what we've got going on right now as we come up on that. So I'll be back with you here on the live stream in just a second, although you're going to continue to see me as I do this live update as well.
This is a 31 Alert Day weather update.
Hi again, everyone. Waay 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle alongside meteorologist Amber Kulick continuing to keep you up to date here on this 31 alert day, and we'll continue to provide some top of the hour updates as we need them through the evening hours. And of course, if anything real significant develops and comes through, we will break in outside of that as well. What we've got going on right now, for the most part, is just a lot of rain here across North Alabama. That has helped keep the severe weather potential a little bit lower here in the far northern part of the state. So that's been some good news. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that does cover Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale County, out here in the northwest corner of the state. Very skinny area of storms right along the state line, coming in across parts of Colbert and Franklin County in particular. May produce some strong wind gusts. I do want to focus in on that, and we'll show you where that is, and I'll track that out for you. But you see this band of some heavier rain activity. There's really not even a lot of thunder and lightning associated with it right now. But near Red Bay and points eastward, there may be a little gusty wind that could occur with this. That could be on the order of 50, maybe up to 60 miles per hour. But let's track this out. I think this is where we have the best chance of seeing some stronger wind gusts. Rock Creek, that'll be coming in the next 10 minutes. Russellville around 5:25. And into the Leeton area around 5:36. Right now in our immediate coverage area, this is the only active warning that we have. But I do want to emphasize a very potent thunderstorm that has had a history of producing some tornado activity that is beginning to move into parts of North Alabama. We do have a tornado warning for Coleman County, not quite part of our coverage area, but very, very close. So I do want to focus briefly on this before we get you back to regular programming. There is a tornado warning that does include the towns of Bremen, a little bit of Coleman, especially south and east of Coleman, over towards Hanceville, Holly Pond area included. So basically southern and eastern Coleman County, there is a tornado warning for this storm, which is moving into the Bremen area. There has been and continues to be a well-defined area of rotation, although I will say it's weakened somewhat. It's not as robust or significant as it had been, but it's still here, again, close to Bremen. Greens are blowing towards the radar. The pinks are blowing away. That is what the radar is looking at out of Birmingham. So there's counterclockwise rotation here. So there is still an area of this storm that is rotating. And at times, we've seen indications of a tornado on the ground. Not necessarily seeing that right now where that circulation is, but that is still a possibility. So if you know folks down here, if you have friends and family in Coleman County, might just want to give them a quick phone call just to make sure they're watching the weather situation. This part of Coleman County is primarily covered by Birmingham television stations, so just make sure that they are staying up to date with the weather. But the reason why I'm showing you this is if this storm continues on this path and it continues to maintain that circulation, this is eventually going to find its way into Marshall County. So I do want to give you folks there just an early heads up. No warnings for Marshall County at this point. But if this storm is able to maintain its structure, may bring a risk for a tornado, again, to parts of Marshall County. So I'm going to do a long-range storm track on this and show you when it gets there. The Joppa Arab area, it'll be around 5:50, so just under about an hour before it would make it there. Union Grove by 5:59, and if you are in Gunnersville, the storm could be in your vicinity a little after 6 o'clock. Again, there's not a tornado warning for Marshall County right now, but there is for Coleman County. The storm has a long way to go through Coleman County, so no immediate threat here. And if this storm continues to lose its structure, it's possible we may not end up with a warning here. But I just want to give you folks in Marshall County an early heads up that we are watching this, and we will be back on air if a warning is issued for you, if there is a threat that a tornado could continue to be a concern with this storm as it moves across Coleman County and perhaps eventually into Marshall County. In the meantime, we're going to send it back to our regular programming, but we're not going anywhere. We're continuing to do some streaming updates. If you'd like to keep up with the weather coverage, you can do that on our website, waytv.com, on the Way 31 news and weather apps. Also on Facebook, meteorologist Jeff Castle, our live stream there, and on YouTube, the Way 31 YouTube channel, also live streaming there with weather information. Again, we will send it back to regular programming. Another update at the top of next hour, unless there's a need for us to be on sooner. For now, though, we'll send it back to hockey.
This has been a 31 Alert Day weather update. We now return to your regular programming.
All right. I think we're back on hockey, or maybe not. Maybe it's something else. All right, so we're continuing to keep an eye on this for you folks that are here on the live stream. Just early heads up for you folks in Marshall County. Nothing that's guaranteed to happen and move through there, but there does remain that potential with this particular storm. Again, it's looking less impressive, but it's still potent, and it still has a lot of things structure-wise that we don't like to see in a storm of this nature. Again, there's still rotation showing up near Bremen, and at times there has been what we call a tornado debris signature. Not really seeing that at the moment. As I move this back, there was a moment ago. This is back about 10 minutes. Northwest of Empire, we were seeing indications of perhaps maybe a brief touchdown, but that has since disappeared as the storm has moved into Coleman County. But still looking at, again, a strong area of circulation showing up here. This is well defined. Green toward the radar, red and pink is away. There's your rotation showing up, again, south of Bremen, a little bit north of Arkadelphia. Again, far southern parts of Coleman County. So we are keeping an eye on this. Again, this is just outside of our coverage area, but as I mentioned on the live cut-in, if you have friends or family that live in this part of Coleman County, just check in with them, make sure that they're paying attention to the weather, as this storm has had a history of producing some tornadoes. Not sure about damage reports from down there, as again, that's covered by a different TV market, a different National Weather Service office, but at least on radar, there have been signs that that storm has touched down and produced a tornado at least a few times. So that definitely bears watching. Back out here towards the shoals, northwest Alabama, we still have our severe thunderstorm warning. The strongest part of this line that prompted the warning, southwestern Colbert into northwestern parts of Franklin County. Nothing that is real alarming out here. But let me check in with the Weather Service and see what we got here. Lots of flash flood warnings. Looks like we got a new one right before I went on at 5 for that live update on television for Franklin, Lauderdale, Limestone, Lawrence, Colbert County. Let's see. And also flash flood warning for Moore and Lincoln County in southern Middle Tennessee. So a couple more flash flood warnings. Question are about if we're going to extend a tornado warning into Marshall County. Then, yeah, and like I said, if it continues to look, if this storm in Coleman County continues to look like the way it does now, then yes, there will be a downstream warning into Marshall County. But again, that's questionable, but it definitely bears watching. And that's kind of the only update that we've got, indicating some weakening, broadening of the rotation in Coleman County. So again, that's a good sign. And the fact that it's moving into this rain-cooled air that we have in place across North Alabama is a good thing. That could mean that that storm will continue to undergo some changes and undergo some weakening, and we hope that'll continue to be the case. But again, that is by far the most threatening thing on radar coming into North Alabama. Again, the storm is approaching Coleman. Probably some hail with it. Let me take a look at that. Well, a little bit. We're not seeing a real strong hail signature. A little bit around Bremen. Nothing that looks real significant. There you saw the tornado warning update. So they cleared the tornado warning for southwest Coleman County, but from Bremen off to the northeast, warning continues. That does include much of the city of Coleman to Hanceville, to Holly Pond, there in the northeast part of Coleman County. And again, if this is extended, Arab, Joppa, you'll be in the next warning if another one is added. That includes Marshall County. And again, perhaps Gunnersville may be included in that as well. But right now, it's just kind of a wait and see what this storm continues to do here in this part of Coleman County. Let me kind of reset the entire view for you. Again, we've got that storm. And there's another one back here north of Tuscaloosa. Just a quick mention on it. But again, this is embedded within an expanding area of rainfall. And we already know what that's kind of done around here in far north Alabama is it's reduced the severe weather threat, particularly the tornado threat as a result. So we're going to be watching this storm and see if the same thing happens. This is also kind of following the same path that this lead storm, so it's going to be moving over the same areas that have already seen rain and rain-cooled air, and the fact that rain is expanding away from this, cutting off that warm, untouched air, unstable air that resides here south and east of Birmingham. So that may be a factor with the demise of this storm, perhaps, and we're hoping that that is going to be a factor, again, with the storm in Coleman County. Once these storms reach this sort of basically development and structure, it can take a little while for them to completely lose that. But otherwise, for the rest of North Alabama, I'm glad it's working out like this. We've just not had anything super high impact in terms of the tornado threat, and that's what we were most concerned about. But we were expecting there would be some flooding concerns. The usual suspects, places that always flood, those are the ones you're going to have to watch out for. What we're not seeing with any of the flood warnings, and I've not seen, are places that would be unusual to flood. So, what is it? Around Cortland, Big Nance Creek typically floods. The Flint River in Madison County, typically you'll get some flooding. The Paint Rock River, typically there'll be some flooding. So there's nothing out of the ordinary in terms of the flood activity. We're not getting necessarily flash flooding, which is a rapid rise in water levels over a short period of time. It's, again, normal spots where when it rains a lot, water starts coming over the roads. And again, just, you know the rule, turn around, find an alternate route to where you're going. That is just the best advice that I can give you. Otherwise, we do have, again, the severe thunderstorm warning for the Shoals, Colbert, Lauderdale, Franklin County. Nothing that is super alarming in association with that, but won't rule out some winds that maybe could hit 40, 50 miles per hour, perhaps exceeding that by a little bit. Otherwise, it's just rainfall across the area with, again, continued monitoring that storm down in Coleman County. Let me take a look here. Looks like there was a new tornado watch that was issued for eastern Tennessee, so basically northeast of where we are. Tornado watch extended there. And as far as where we are, there's probably some update. As far as the tornado watch that North Alabama is included under, the latest update here, which came out at a little while ago, but they were primarily emphasizing areas from northwest of Birmingham, basically I-22, northwest of Birmingham, southward, as to where the greater significant tornado risk was going to remain, and haven't really said anything about that threat here in North Alabama. So again, that's good. That's working in our favor. That was the latest update on the tornado watch that was in place. Let's see. Reported some dime-sized hail in Sewanee, Tennessee. The storms are still capable of producing some hail. That would have been for this storm northwest Chattanooga as it was moving out of the Franklin County area. Let's see when that report actually came. Well, I don't see when it came in. That was just thrown up there in the chat. Again, so the severe thunderstorm warning in the Shoals, I'm not real impressed with what we've got going on there. So this is the main thing that we are watching. And it's possible that this is going to be extended. Although I will say, so this is the latest update out of the Birmingham area. Where we're seeing the rotation, it's shrinking. It's still there, it's still being picked up on radar. That's the view from Birmingham. As this gets a little bit more to the northeast, beyond Dodge City, a little closer to the Coleman area, will kind of be equidistant between the Birmingham radar and the Huntsville radar. So let me just take a look here. The Huntsville radar is showing this a little bit farther along to the north. There's the velocity product associated with it. And still think the Birmingham radar has the better view. And we're not going to see anything in the debris tracker here. So Birmingham radar is still the best view. Again, the rotation is not as strong. Near Good Hope, south of Coleman, but that's where it's located. Not as strong. The latest scan update. We hope that'll continue to be a trend. But again, let me track it. Let's be very close. Come across southeast side of Coleman. It's headed northeast. We'll take it just into Marshall County, through the rest of Coleman County. Fairview by 532. The Joppa Arab area, again, 545-ish. Union Grove by 555. To be determined if it will make it to Gunnersville. And again, to be determined if it's going to hold together to the point that a tornado warning is going to be issued on it. But we're going to continue to keep a watch on it as it moves its way across Coleman County. Because again, there's a lot of rain, and we've had rain that's continued to fill in here across Marshall County. So the environment ahead of this storm is not quite as robust and conducive for an intense tornado-producing storm as it was when it was back west and southwest of Birmingham. So that, again, working in our favor. Running down the warning here, it seems like this warning's been up for northwest Alabama for quite a bit for some reason, with not much progress. That one goes until 5:30, so we'll see if it's extended about another 12 minutes on severe thunderstorm warning for, again, Colbert, Franklin, Lauderdale County. I'm just not seeing anything that's real concerning here. I think our bigger threat with what's going on out here into the Shoals is just the rainfall and the fact that we've already had some flooding, and this is certainly not going to help the situation. But here, looking at different radar, it just looks to me like an area of rain with embedded thunderstorm activity. Even that little band we were looking at from western Franklin into southwestern Colbert County, it's kind of fallen apart. I think there's a reasonably good chance that severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for the Shoals is probably going to be allowed to expire, and I don't see a reason why it would be reissued. But, I mean, you never know with these things. And again, back here into Coleman County, again, this is our only concerning storm. But even it is, just a little rotation near Good Hope. Should be getting another update here in that radar shortly. I don't believe it's probably within range of our Gunnersville radar, but let me take a look here. See what it's not really picking up on anything real significant rotation-wise back towards Good Hope. So we'll keep an eye on it. This, of course, will be a storm to watch, particularly as it gets closer to our live radar there in the Guntersville area. So I'm going to put this back just on the bigger radar picture as we await updates on that storm and if the warning is going to be continued. I'd say at this point, I'm not really a betting man, but I'd give it 50-50 chance that there will be a downstream warning for Marshall County. But I'd say the odds are starting to drop, particularly if the trend, this trend of weakening, this trend of becoming less organized continues. But being that it has a history of likely producing tornado activity, just to err on the side of caution, that warning may be extended. So again, you folks in Marshall County, we're keeping an eye on it for you. And if that warning is extended, of course, we'll continue to live stream here, and we'll be on air as well. Oh, okay. So for Lauderdale, Colbert County. All right. All right. So folks in the booth, we need to go on for tornado warning now for Lauderdale, Colbert County. So let me know when that open runs.
This is a 31 Alert Day weather update.
Hi again, everyone. Way 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle. Tornado warning just issued for parts of Colbert, Lauderdale County. It is for an embedded thunderstorm here in western Colbert County. Possibility we get a tornado out of this. It would be most likely a brief spin-up type of tornado. So let's take a look here on this. The tornado warning, first of all, goes until 6 o'clock this evening. So we're going to be on for about the next 30 minutes or so tracking this. And there's another storm as well in Coleman County that I will get to as well. But then tornado warning just issued for Colbert, Lauderdale County until 6. For again, the possibility, and I think what we're seeing here, there's still a lot of wind shear in the atmosphere. There's not a lot of instability. So this would be one of those situations where this would be a brief spin-up type of tornado that could still do damage. But it's not going to be one of those long track, significant tornadoes that we were concerned about that could be an issue. But let's get in here and take a closer look. I'm going to pull up some different radar data. That's what it looks like with one of the closer radars. I'm also going to take a look at our Muscle Shoals live radar in just a second. But where we're seeing perhaps, and again, I think this is what this is about, is it could be a brief spin up. There's not a real strong rotation signature here, but a little bit close to Rock Creek, close to Highway 247, it looks like, here in the western part of Colbert County. I'm going to track this out for you first, and then we're going to take a look at some other radar data. Again, this could be just a brief spin up. This is not going to be one of those significant, long track, strong type of tornadoes that, again, we were concerned that could happen. But especially given what's happened here with some recent storms, we had the brief tornado that did damage downtown Tuscumbia. So I think just because of the possibility that could occur, tornado warning issued here. So here's where it's tracking. These are approximate times of arrival. Tuscumbia around 5:39. If you're in Muscle Shoals, this will be around 5:43. Florence around 5:44. St. Florine around 5:49. Shoals Creek 5:53, Killen around 5:56. So if you're in the path here, basically in the Shoals, Florence, Tuscumbia, Muscle Shoals, Sheffield area, and some of the surrounding areas, need to be headed to your tornado shelter just to be on the safe side. Lowest level of the building that you're in, and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible for perhaps a brief spin-up tornado that may be developing here in the southwest corner of Colbert County. So go ahead and seek shelter again for the possibility that we may get a brief spin-up tornado here. Going to take a look at a couple different things. Going to clear off the track. I am going to pull up our live radar out of Muscle Shoals, see what we're seeing here with it. Rotation-wise, not real strong signal, but again, a little bit back here towards Alabama Highway 247. So this is where we are seeing a little rotation showing up. As this gets closer, we'll have a better view as it gets closer to this radar here. So we're keeping an eye on that. And also keeping an eye on our live camera out here towards Muscle Shoals. And still just lots of rainfall, but we're going to keep a watch on this camera as well and see if anything of any concern starts to show up on it. But again, tornado warning that does include parts of Colbert as well as Lauderdale County. That goes until 6 o'clock this evening. This again is going to be for the possibility of a brief spin-up type of tornado that may develop out in this area. So I need you to seek shelter for that possibility. We're also monitoring a storm in Coleman County. We've been talking about this one and the fact that this has likely produced some tornadoes. It is moving into a less favorable environment, though, for that potential to continue. And if you've been watching us on the live stream prior to us coming back on air, I've been talking about how this storm is kind of losing its structure and organization, and it appears that process is continuing. So it's a little uncertain at this point if there'll be a downstream tornado warning. Now, there is still some circulation showing up with this, certainly a little bit more defined than what we have out towards the shoals. But again, this was a much more organized storm that has lasted a much longer time. A little east of Coleman here on US 278 near Walker's Corner, we're still seeing circulation showing up. This is tracking towards Simcoe, the Baileyton area, and it is possible that we're going to get a warning that is going to come out for Marshall County. That would not surprise me. It does look like a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued to account for this storm coming on through. But if we continue to see indications of rotation here like we're seeing east of Coleman, it's possible that we could see a tornado warning extended. But for now, looks like a severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued for this storm coming out of Coleman County. But we are monitoring for, again, a tornado threat. I think a little bit higher of a threat with this than what we have out towards the shoals. But officially, severe thunderstorm warning. That does include parts of Morgan County and also includes parts of Marshall County. I'm going to track this out for you. We'll track the area where we are seeing some rotation, a little bit beyond that, kind of following where the severe thunderstorm warning is drawn in. So this is kind of the time of arrival. Joppa Arab area around 5:45 is when this will be coming on in. Again, possibility for some strong wind out of this, maybe some hail as well. And working its way into Union Grove there in Marshall County around 5:56, maybe eventually. And there we go. Looks like a tornado warning now has come out for Marshall County. Was wondering when because that area rotation did look a little bit more well-defined. So tornado warning now issued for Marshall County. It also includes parts of Morgan and Madison County as well as Coleman County. So tornado warning here for this storm coming on through. So let's kind of clear everything off. Again, the area rotation that we are monitoring is a little east of Coleman. Sometimes these storms can kind of fluctuate in intensity, particularly one that is this well organized. But tornado warning now issued that does include parts of Morgan, Marshall County. So if you are in these areas, basically what I just showed you, but let's track it out again. I do need you to be headed to your tornado safe place. We'll kind of extend this out a little bit farther. And this will be taking it into, again, Joppa Arab around 5:45, 5:50 time frame. Probably going to stay, and it looks like the tornado warning, the way it was drawn, is just outside of Guntersville. So Guntersville, you're not included in this. But again, Joppa Arab, you are. Union Grove, there in Marshall County, around 5:58 or so. And then into southeast Madison County, this goes. That would be coming into the New Hope area a little after 6 o'clock this evening, so 6:11. So again, tornado warning out for here. So we've got 2 active tornado warnings right now. So this one...
Jeff, there does look to be a drop in correlation coefficient just a few minutes ago with that Coleman storm, so
Okay.
it does look like a tornado touched down at least for a brief scan there.
Okay, so Amber, being my second set of eyes, which I very much appreciate, that it does appear that maybe there was a brief touchdown there outside of Coleman, so that could be one of the reasons why the warning was issued. That and the fact that we're still seeing the circulation. Even though this storm has kind of lost a little bit of its structure compared to what it looked before when it was much farther to the southwest, it still has rotation. And as I've been mentioning on the live stream, sometimes these more well-organized storms, it takes them a little while to wind down, even if the environment that they're moving into is not quite as favorable as what they had previously had. Let's get you back out here into the shoals. I want to update what we have going on here for Colbert and Lauderdale County for you folks in the Florence, Muscle Shoals area. Again, tornado warning associated with this thunderstorm, which is moving out of western Colbert County. You can see it here. It doesn't look real impressive on radar, but there's ample spin in the lower part of the atmosphere, and if you can get a storm just strong enough that can tap into that, you can get a brief spin up, and I think that is most likely what we are looking at here in terms of potential. There you saw the latest update. What we're monitoring here, this area of rotation, again, it's not real strong, but it's there near Red Rock, tracking off to the north and to the east. So if you're here in Muscle Shoals, if you're here in Tuscumbia, Sheffield to Florence, I need you to head to your tornado shelter. We could get a brief tornado that develops out of this. Let me check the debris tracker here. We're not seeing anything debris-wise showing up on the radar that we are using. Let me take a look here at our live radar out of Muscle Shoals, taking a look again at the same storm. See the live sweep coming around, the data changing. So again, it's going to be in the vicinity of Red Rock to the west of Cedar Hill Estates is where we are seeing that potential. This is a look at the velocity, looking at how the winds are changing. Again, there's nothing super well defined here. So if this is going to produce a tornado, it is going to be one of those brief spin-up types at this point in time. That is the way it is looking. But again, monitoring here close to Red Rock, back to Cedar Hill Estates. You can look at the latest sweep coming around here. Again, if we're going to get a brief spin up, it's going to be in this general vicinity. And again, tracking towards Florence, Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, Sheffield area. So I need you to be headed to your tornado safe place here, as well as if you're in northeast Coleman County, southeast Morgan County, and into southwest Marshall County for, again, the possibility of a tornado that may develop with that storm there. I want to get a closer look on it because this is where I believe we have a more significant tornado threat, but don't want to discount the threat for maybe a brief spin up that may happen with our storms. They're moving through the shoals. But this is what we're monitoring: northeast Coleman County, northeast of Simcoe, and towards Eva. Let me pull up some different radar information. This is the Birmingham weather radar that we're looking at right now. This is what the velocity looks like. Still an area rotation showing up close to Simcoe. I will say it's kind of ebbed a little bit from the way it looked a moment ago. I'm going to switch radars. We're going to take a look at the Weather Service radar out of Jackson County from the National Weather Service. And we're going to take a look at the wind velocity and see what it's picking up. And it's picking up something here, again, a little closer to the Morgan-Coleman County line, again, close to Simcoe. Near Eva, in between Baileyton perhaps, looking maybe a little bit higher in the storm than the Birmingham radar is, but it is showing the greens, which are blowing towards the radar, the reds are away, so you can kind of pick up this sense of rotation showing up here, again, right on the Coleman and Morgan County line, tracking off to the northeast. So again, Arab, especially back towards Joppa, southeastern parts of Morgan County, especially if you live a little east of Eva, need you to be headed to your tornado safe place for, again, the possibility that something develops here. Debris tracker, not really seeing anything super concerning showing up with the radar out of Jackson County. And this will be the radar out of Birmingham, which is probably still a little closer, although it's about equidistance between the two. And not seeing a real strong signature of anything potentially on the ground here. But we are continuing to monitor, again, some rotation that is occurring with this storm moving out of Coleman into Morgan County. So I'm going to track this out one more time. We're going to show you exactly what we are monitoring, where we're seeing some rotation showing up. And we'll track it from right along the Morgan-Coleman County line. This is going to be headed towards Union Grove by 5:53, and southeast Madison County included in this tornado warning, and that would include you folks in the New Hope area. coming in around 6:05. So next 30 minutes, this is going to be traversing southeast corner of Morgan County, northwest Marshall County, and extreme southeast portions of Madison County. Gunnersville, again, it appears the circulation is going to stay off to your north and northwest. But if you're in these areas from Wind Crossroads to Union Grove to New Hope, I want you to head to your tornado shelter for, again, the possibility that a tornado may develop here. Again, we've got this storm going on. We've got two kind of in opposite ends of North Alabama. So I want to get you back up into the shoals, and we're going to take a look at our tornado warned storm back here in Colbert County. Again, there's the tornado warning area that does include central Colbert County and basically central parts of Lauderdale County. I believe that goes until 6 o'clock this evening. This is the latest on the wind velocity. Kind of seeing this fizzle out a little bit, and that is some good news. But if there is some circulation showing up, it's very close to Cedar Hills Estates, right here on 72, as it goes out of Colbert County back out towards Cherokee. So right on 72, that's where we're seeing the circulation, a little east of Red Rock. That's where it's continuing to move. And again, this is tracking off to the north and east. So let me put that track on here.
Jeff, we also have another tornado warning that will be coming out for the cell in eastern Winston County. This will move into northwest Coleman County and into portions of southern Morgan County. So this is something we're going to have to watch over the next little bit. I've been keeping an eye on this area of rotation. It's near Addison. So something we'll have to watch here as we head into the next few minutes as well.
Okay, so that'll be down the road a little bit. So we've got a few areas that we're going to have to continue to keep an eye on. Again, let's kind of track this out. There you see the latest scan update. You know, not real strong signal for tornado here, but again, if you are in the shoals, I want you to seek shelter. That includes you folks, Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, Sheffield, Florence. All want you to be in your tornado safe place. Possibility that we get a brief spin up. I don't think this would be anything more significant than that based on what we're seeing on radar right now. But into Muscle Shoals by 544, Florence around 546, St. Florine around 551, Shoals Creek 555, and the Killen area coming in around 558. So this would be coming out of Colbert County and across parts of Lauderdale County. Again, this looks most likely if we were to see a tornado develop, it would be one of those brief spin-ups that can still do damage. We know that. That's what went through Tuscumbia, was a brief spin-up, and we know what damage happened there. Same thing that happened in Athens right after Christmas. Brief spin-up, but enough to do some damage. So you do need to take this seriously and make sure you're headed to your tornado safe place. Again, this is a look at the debris tracker. Don't really see anything that's jumping out here that's real significant, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Again, taking a look at our live radar out of Muscle Shoals. This is kind of right in the thick of it, looking at the reflectivity, taking a closer look here at the rotation in this thunderstorm. And again, there's no area, even though this is in very close range to where this storm is tracking, that's jumping out and saying we have a strong area rotation. So this is fairly weak, but it could be just enough to produce a brief tornado. So I want you in your shelter just to be on the safe side if you are out towards the shoals. Let's show you the bigger picture of what we have going on across the area, and you can see the multiple warnings, and it does look like a new tornado warning has come out. Is that correct, Amber?
Yes, that one would include places like Danville, Faultville, Hartselle, and that part of Morgan County.
Okay. In fact, Amber, why don't I let you take over, since you've been keeping a closer watch on that storm while I've been monitoring the other two, and talk a little bit about where that one is tracking and kind of what it's looking like on radar right now.
Okay, yeah. So here's what we're looking at right now. That area of rotation is near Addison, and this will track towards Jones Chapel over the next few minutes here. So zooming out a little bit, this includes places like Battleground. If you're in that area, you need to get to your tornado safe place. If you're in Faultville, now is the time to get to your tornado safe place as well. Danville, up towards Hartselle as well. Make sure that you're in your safe place as the storm heads your way. So let me go back to the reflectivity here. So here's what we're looking at with this storm. A lot of lightning with it. Jones Chapel, this will stay off to your west, although your tornado sirens are probably going off. You're getting that alert right now as well. I'll take this a little closer here and show you exactly what we're looking at with this storm. Again, this is just right out of our viewing area right now, but this will be moving into parts of southern Morgan County as we head into the next little bit. Right over New Georgia right now is where we're seeing the heaviest of the rain. We'll check the hail, see if we have any hail with this storm. Not really seeing any indications of that at this time. So we'll switch back over here, kind of flipping between two radar sites. This is the one in Huntsville, showing that area of rotation. Again, this is in Winston County. This is going to cross over into Coleman County and eventually into portions of Morgan County. We'll even take a look at Birmingham. And yeah, you can see that area of rotation right there, where you see the reds and the greens together. So that's what we're watching with that storm. Again, already gave you a heads up. I'm going to call you out, Mom and Dad. Get in your safe place as we head into the next little bit here down in Faultville. So we'll reset the view, talk a little bit about the other storms that we have going on. We still have this tornado warning that includes the eastern side of Morgan County into parts of Marshall County as well. So we'll take a look at this storm and see what it looks like. Zooming in a little closer here, switching over to velocity. And still some broad rotation within this one as well. This is going to be east of Eva now. So if you are in Eva, stay in your safe place a little while longer as the storm continues to move past you. And resetting the view, we have one more to talk about. That's over in the shoals. So get out my other radar here. And it looks like they did cancel the tornado warning over in the shoals. So now we have just 2 tornado warnings here across our viewing area. The one that is included in Morgan County includes places like Faultville, Hartselle, and Decatur. You're not in the polygon, but you can probably hear the sirens going off. And then we have that one over towards Marshall County. So Jeff, still a couple of things we need to keep an eye on over the next little bit here.
That's right. So we've got the 2 tornado warned storms now. The one in the shoals canceled. Again, we were talking about that was a low-end threat and really nothing real significant showing up. We're using our live radar out of Gunnersville right now to track this storm in eastern Morgan County. And in the vicinity of Apple Grove is where we are seeing that circulation showing up. The greens are blowing towards the radar. The reds are away. So you can get that sense of counterclockwise circulation. That is where it is currently located, tracking off to the north and to the east. So it looks like this is probably going to miss you folks in Arab. It is going to miss you if you are over into the Joppa area. And again, this is going to stay, it looks like, outside of Gunnersville, and it may even miss you over towards Union Grove. I know we've been tracking it in that direction, but definitely if you're here towards Allen's Crossroads, the Morgan City area, and then headed across the river into southeastern parts of Madison County, particularly towards New Hope. Again, this is where we are seeing kind of that general area of rotation, and this is what it looks like on our live radar out of Gunnersville. You saw the latest scan update there. Let's take a look here. This is the radar out of Jackson County, which is showing the same thing. Circulation showing up near Apple Grove, a little west of Allen's Crossroads. So if you're here in Morgan City, I want you to seek shelter. And again, beyond that into southeastern parts of Madison County, this is going to be coming in fairly close to the New Hope area. So let's kind of track all this out for you here. Again, just north of Apple Grove, Morgan City to Allen's Crossroads to New Hope is where this appears it is going to be tracking. Allen's Crossroads basically moving in here shortly, especially just north of town. New Hope still looking around 6 o'clock. That is our projection as to when it is going to make its way into that southeastern corner of Madison County. Lacey Spring right now looks like this will stay off to your south and to the east. I don't think Owens Crossroads you're going to be threatened. It's going to be a little closer to New Hope than anywhere else here in the southeast corner of Madison County, but you need to be taking your tornado precautions here. Let's take a look at the other storm that we are monitoring that is back off to the west of this one that has also prompted a tornado warning, and again that is going to be coming across northwest Coleman County and on into portions of Morgan County. It is associated with this thunderstorm that you see back here towards Jones Chapel. Still seeing circulation, but this is going to be tracking towards Falkville and Hartselle. So in those areas of southwest Morgan County, I do want you headed to your tornado safe place. Going to take a look at, and it's great that we have all this different information that we can show you this to kind of pinpoint where the rotation is. And we are seeing it just outside of Jones Chapel. Again, the greens are blowing toward the radar, the reds are away, counterclockwise rotation, basically where Winston, Lawrence, Coleman, and Morgan County come together. That intersection is where this is tracking through. So if you're anywhere from Falkville to Hartselle, need you to be headed to your tornado safe place at this time. I'm going to take a look at our Decatur radar as it's going to be coming in within range of that. You can see what it looks like here looking at the wind velocity. And again, it's there, barely there in that area, but it's definitely there. Again, this is our live radar out of Decatur. Here's where the rotation is. Again, that northwest corner of Coleman County, just outside of Jones Chapel. I'm going to zoom in here a little closer. Not sure what sort of roads we have out here. I think a lot of this you start getting into the Bankhead National Forest. So positive note is that it's moving through a fairly area that's not particularly populated. But again, circulation showing up here northwest of Jones Chapel, where Winston, Coleman, as well as Morgan and Lawrence County come together. That is where that storm is tracking. The view here, let's take you back into eastern Morgan County, again monitoring our storm, which is going to be coming in to parts of northwest Marshall County. This is again using our radar out of Decatur, not as quite of a strong signature there. This will be the radar out of Jackson County. And still seeing it. I will say it's not real strong. It's not real compact in a small area, but it's there. The green blowing towards, the red blowing away. There's your rotation just outside of Morgan City. So I need you in your shelter in Morgan City. This rotation is moving through as we speak. Quick look here at the debris tracker. Not really seeing anything coincident with this. It's really jumping out at me and saying that there's something on the ground. And again, we have our live radars at our disposal as well with 31 triple Doppler, looking from the Guntersville radar, and still seeing some areas of rotation showing up with that. So this is definitely here and a possibility. And even the overall shape, you look at this and we talk about what these storms look like, kind of like a kidney bean, or you hear us talk about the hook, which is the rain being wrapped around the circulation. It has that look here corresponding with where we're seeing the rotation, again, in the vicinity of Morgan City. So I need you in your shelter in Morgan City, up here towards Hobbs Island. It's going to be tracking in that direction, again, across the Tennessee River towards New Hope. Lacey Spring, there's the latest update. You're getting some heavy rain. Not really sure if we're seeing a lot of hail out of this, but the most significant rotation is going to be, again, just outside of Lacey Spring. This is another way of looking at the radar data. We can look at the actual wind velocity from the radar. We have another derived product called the wind shear that can also show us where areas of rotation or strong straight line winds are showing up. And again, there's your second opinion. We're seeing that showing up around Morgan City. So we've got that there, rotation showing up. Take you back here into Coleman County. And I will say that shear product, we're not really seeing a marker there indicative of that. So I think our strongest area of rotation, eastern Morgan County with that particular thunderstorm. But we can't sleep on this one either. So again, Falkville to Hartselle in particular, once you headed to your tornado safe place, if you're not there already. Let me kind of expand the view. And this is basically where all the action is going on right now. Morgan County is kind of the epicenter of that, with our storm coming in across northwest Coleman County and working its way into southwest parts of Morgan County. I will say this is looking a little less impressive. We'll see if that continues to be the case. Again, near Morgan City, just outside of Lacey Spring, that is where we are seeing a little bit more significant sort of radar signature that could be indicative of something spinning up and again tracking towards New Hope. And if anything, where we're seeing that area rotation, it's kind of on the very edge of where the tornado warning is kind of drawn in. At least that is what the latest data is suggesting to us. Looks like that's been allowed to expire or canceled. Let me check here. And then an update here on the storm in Winston-Coleman County. Indications are that the rotation has weakened, but still maintaining that tornado warning in that one. And I'm not sure. Okay, so the warning for Marshall, Madison, Morgan County was canceled. So that's what I'm seeing now. Amber, are you seeing anything else? I noticed there was some talk there about Lawrence County.
Yeah, so they just wanted to update about the sail they were watching in Lawrence County. No signs of strengthening, so really good news there. Still keeping an eye on that one that's moved into Morgan County now. Very broad rotation over areas like Penn and Massey. If you are familiar with that part of Morgan County, you know exactly where I'm talking about. So we got a little bit of broad rotation, nothing that would tell me that we have a tornado on the ground with this storm, but either way, if you are near Danville, Penn, Massey, even over towards Lacon and Faultville, you need to stay in your safe place. Up towards Hartselle, stay in your safe place a little while longer as the storm continues to make its way through portions of Morgan County. A lot of heavy rain falling near Penn and Massey at this time. A little bit of lightning with this storm, but not as electric as some of the storms that we have seen that have moved through earlier. So let's zoom out a little farther. And again, like I said, Faultville, you are in this polygon, but the worst of the weather is going to be off to your west. But stay wherever you are for the time being. Let it pass by you, and then you can come out of that safe place. This is going to be west of 65 that's running through Morgan County as well. It's going to pass over Highway 36 here in just a few minutes, pass between Hartselle and Speake on Highway 36. So if you know someone traveling in that area, tell them to get off the roadways until this storm does pass by. Checking in with the National Weather Service here, still not saying anything else about this storm in portions of Morgan County. We'll switch back over to velocity here. And this just gives me a really good idea of if we do have rotation within this storm. And again, it's looking very broad right there between Penn and Massey and portions of Morgan County right now. I'll switch over to our correlation coefficient, and this just shows if we do have debris being lofted by the storm. We'll go back a few scans. I'm not really seeing a whole lot in this product that would tell me that we have anything on the ground in Morgan County. So some really good news there with this storm. And again, not seeing any updates, not seeing any damage reports from the National Weather Service either. So great news coming out of Morgan County so far. And again, this is the only storm we have. The other one, tornado warning got canceled for it, got replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning. So we'll keep an eye on that one too over the next little bit, Jeff, but so far so good.
Yeah, and that's the good news. And I think some of these warnings are coming out just because a little bit of a rotation showing up and the fact that there is a lot of wind shear still present in the atmosphere. So that is one of the severe weather ingredients that does remain in place. All this widespread rain, I mean, it's been raining here, I think, at our studio for several hours now. That's been very much the limiting factor as to why we do not have a more robust severe weather threat that's developed. We anticipated that would be the case. The fact that this widespread rain has come on in has actually worked to our benefit. These thunderstorms, particularly the extreme ones that can produce high impact severe weather and destructive tornadoes, they require a lot of energy. We have a little bit in place here across North Alabama, but you can see as you head south across the state that thunderstorm energy increases where we start getting into the brighter colors. What's happened is all this rain that's come through in the last few hours is kind of eating up a lot of that energy. It's not allowing any warming to take place, even though we're kind of past peak heating right now, but didn't allow that to happen this afternoon. Didn't allow the atmosphere to warm up substantially as it would have otherwise. And as a result, even though we are getting some of these stronger storms that had more energy back here in western and down into central Alabama moving in, they're encountering an environment that is not as favorable for them to continue to survive, or at least survive to the point where they're have as great a threat of producing significant severe weather. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. But with some of these storms, as they come on in, once you get these well-organized, what we call supercell thunderstorms, rotating thunderstorms, they kind of gain a life of their own. And so it can take them a little while to wind down. But as they get more and more into this less favorable environment, they just cannot survive. And I think that's what we're seeing, is that they are able to make it in with a threat for producing tornadoes. But as they get deeper into North Alabama, they're finding that they just don't have what they need in order to sustain themselves. And that's wonderful that that is happening, because other folks here across the Deep South have not been that fortunate today or last night when there were significant tornadoes and significant impacts. So I think we should consider ourselves very lucky and blessed that we have not had to deal with some of the things that our neighbors have. With that said, there does remain a tornado warning still in effect for western Morgan County. It is for this storm just to the west of Falkville, with the possibility still that we could see something develop out of this. And still watching the storm here, again, just outside of Lacey Spring, moving into Madison County. This is still embedded within this rainfall, a fairly stout storm, definitely some heavier rainfall associated with it, and a little thunder and lightning. But perhaps the tornado potential out of both of these is just not that alarming. We continue to look here, again, close to Hartselle and Falkville. A couple areas, very broad rotation, nothing that's super well defined. So we're going to continue to watch, but I'd say the odds that a tornado is going to be produced is fairly low. If one does occur, it's likely going to be a weak and a brief one. But still, from Falkville and now especially around Hartselle, do want you in your tornado safe place just to be on the safe side. There you saw the latest update here. Quick look at the tornado debris tracker. I don't see anything that indicates that something has spun up and is on the ground. Similar situation over here from Morgan into Madison County. Again, that tornado warning was canceled, but still just want to keep an eye. Quick look at the velocity product. I don't see anything that's any concern. I'll take a look here at our live radars. This will be 31 triple Doppler out of Gunnersville, looking at this storm, kind of showing the same picture with the velocity, nothing of any concern. And then last check, I'm going to take a look at our 31 triple Doppler indicator, again looking back towards the Hartselle area. And again, nothing that is particularly alarming that I'm seeing here on the radar product at this point. We can also check our Decatur radar to see if there's any sort of debris signature, and I'm not seeing anything showing up here that is
National Weather Service says they are about to cancel the tornado warning.
Okay, so they're canceling the warning here for Morgan County. Okay, so basically they're seeing what we're seeing, which is a lessening threat for that. So it looks like with that warning canceled, they may replace it with a severe thunderstorm warning, just like the one that they did here in eastern Morgan County. You saw the warning drop off. Maybe they'll get a severe thunderstorm warning out for this. But otherwise now, the only warnings that we have ongoing are a severe thunderstorm warning now for parts of northeastern Morgan County and into southeast Madison County. That is for this embedded heavier thunderstorm, which is continuing to move its way off to the north and to the east. Otherwise, it's a lot of rain, folks, and that's it at the moment. So nothing real significant showing up. Keep in mind, where you have these green boxes, that basically cover all of the northwestern corner of the state of Alabama up into southern middle Tennessee. Those are flood warnings. Lots of reports of flooding out there because of the persistent rainfall and the fact we've had a couple rounds. We had rain late last night, early this morning. That was round number 1 that we were expecting, and some severe weather warnings did come out as a result of that. But it also laid down a good bit of rain in some areas, and then we've had plenty of rain this afternoon across a large part of the area. So that's why we're having the problems with flooding. It's mostly the normal places where we get flooding concerns. Some of those county roads that are close to smaller streams and creeks that fill up very quickly, and then that water comes out onto the roadways. So just be aware if you encounter any flooded roadways through this evening, tonight, on into tomorrow. Just find an alternate route to where you're going. Looks like the severe thunderstorm warning was also allowed to expire for Madison as well as Morgan County. With that said, we're going to go back to programming as there are no active warnings right now. Officially, a tornado watch does remain in place until 8 o'clock this evening for North Alabama and until 9 o'clock for areas of southern middle Tennessee. So it remains possible we may get some additional warnings that come out. Although what I will say is what prompted the recent warnings were storms down to Birmingham that were tornado producers that moved into our area and fizzled out because the environment was not quite as favorable. There is nothing else immediately to our south that we are tracking that is a significant severe weather producer. So hopefully things will just remain kind of like they are right now. A lot of rain, some flood warnings, but maybe not much else, just based on the environment, just based on what's on radar right now. We're going to go ahead and send it back to programming. I'll have another top of the hour update coming up for you at 7 o'clock. If there's a need to come on before then, of course we will. Otherwise, we'll continue to provide some live streaming updates on the Waay 31 News app, the Waay 31 Storm Tracker weather app at waytv.com, and also on our social media channels, my meteorologist Jeff Castle Facebook page. We've been doing live streaming updates there, as well as on YouTube with the Waay 31 YouTube channel. Again, for meteorologist Amber Kulik, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle. We're going to continue to watch until all this is on out of here, but for now, we're going to send it back to normal programming.
This has been a 31 Alert Day weather update. We now return to your regular programming.
Hey, I'm just going to go back on streaming. Thank you. Hey, good evening again, everyone. Waay 31 Storm Tracker, Chief Meteorologist Jeff Casser. Just want to do a little streaming update for you as to what we've got going on weather-wise. No active tornado warnings across the area. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Jackson and on into Franklin County in southern Middle Tennessee. Continuing to watch the possibility of seeing some rotation developing in the storm. I will say this, that the odds are pretty low that we're going to get any tornado activity that pops up out of this. I never say never, but the environment is just not coming together around here. Now, I know there's still some discussion, the Storm Prediction Center, National Weather Service here in Huntsville, monitoring storms and some rotation that's being detected at times. Storm Prediction Center even saying that there's still a threat that we may see some tornado activity here in North Alabama. I won't totally rule that out, but the environment is just not there due to the widespread rainfall. It's really eliminated one of the key ingredients. We've got 4 key ingredients when we're talking about severe weather. One of those is instability in the atmosphere. That's the warmth, that's the temperature change that we get as you go up higher into the atmosphere. That's largely determined by what the temperature is at the surface, among some other variables that come into play. And we're just lacking that, and it's due to the widespread rainfall. But there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere. There's a lot of what we call wind shear, and sometimes lack of one ingredient can be made up for by lots and lots of another ingredient. So just continue to keep an eye on things, but the overall threat, particularly what led up to this, which is what looked like a significant severe weather event for North Alabama, and the potential for long track, perhaps violent tornadoes, we're just not seeing that threat materialize. I think if we get anything at this point forward through this evening until all this finally clears out, it's going to be something brief. We're just not going to have the things that we would typically need in order to get that more significant tornado threat. With that said, though, don't want you to let your guard down. Officially, the tornado watch goes until 8. We'll see if it's extended beyond then. I'll be surprised if it is, but I'm often surprised by some things that happen with the weather and decisions regarding those sort of things. So just want you to continue to stay weather alert. Let's take a look at what we've got going on. Some stronger thunderstorms embedded within the larger area of rain. Back towards Russellville, we've got that. You know, not out of the question, maybe a severe thunderstorm warning will be issued on this. Wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen, but nothing that is super well organized. Increase in rainfall, little thunder and lightning, that's about it. We also have a stronger thunderstorm that's moving through northwest Marion County. Keep an eye on this as well. You know, you get these stronger ones, a little bit better organized. They can maybe tap into some of that wind shear and that spin in the atmosphere. But again, it appears the chances that any of this is really going to flare up into something significant. Looks like the chance for that's going to be pretty small. Here's a look at the wind velocity using the radar out of Columbus, Mississippi, which is closest here to western parts of Marion as well as Franklin County. A little bit of a wind shift with that activity in Franklin County near Russellville. You know, we often look along these wind shifts. Is there a chance for a little bit of a spin up? Won't rule that out given the shear environment, but I would say tracking something that would be sustained and significant would be quite difficult at this point in time. I want to take you over into northeast Alabama. We've had stronger storm here, prompted severe thunderstorm warning. That remains in effect here for northwest parts of Jackson County into Franklin County, Tennessee. Occasionally, a little bit of rotation in the mid-levels of this storm is showing up. And again, that's a factor of the large amount of wind shear that we have in place. But mid-level rotation doesn't always equate to low-level rotation, and that's what it's going to take to get a tornado to spin up. But let's take a look here. We still have severe thunderstorm warning officially in effect. Includes the Princeton, Skyline, High Top area. Moving off to the north and to the east. Very close to the radar here as well. So if we look at the wind velocity product out of High Top, which is where the National Weather Service radar product is, it's looking very, very low into the storm. And right now, nothing that's really jumping out here that's of concern for any low-level rotation showing up in any of these storm areas. So that is some good news. The wider view here showing the greater threat does remain across central and south Alabama at this point going forward. And this will also kind of show us where we stand in terms of the end of all of this. Basically, Mississippi border's kind of it. We do continue to get some additional bands of showers that develop and come on in, but for the most part, we're just kind of waiting for this to clear from west to east across the area. More significant storm activity, a couple areas where it's happening. Leading edge of the larger rain shield here in eastern Tennessee, and also back into central, southern Alabama, southeast Mississippi, where we don't have quite as much widespread rainfall, kind of interfering with these stronger storms. So tornado warning here west of Montgomery, looks like back towards Demopolis. We've got tornado warnings as well back into parts of southeastern Mississippi. Everything continuing to develop its way off to the east. As far as that significant tornado potential, the long track, perhaps violent tornado activity, I think that's mostly going to be confined to central and south Alabama, and we're just not going to see that threat materialize here in the northern part of the state. Again, there might be a storm that briefly rotates, may bring a brief tornado threat, but for the most part, it's going to rain, and it's going to continue to rain for the next few hours. One of the components we're lacking, like I said, has to do with the fact that we've had all of this rainfall, and it's that atmospheric instability. And I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like here with a couple pieces of data. We label this thunderstorm energy when I show it to you on the maps, and you can see where that is, where the more significant thunderstorm energy is. Downstate, central, southern Alabama, and most of this is going to continue to shift eastward with time. It's not going to work its way back to the north. We've just got too much rain in place to really allow much of this to surge into the area. Plus, we're past peak heating. Sun will be setting here shortly. Not that we've really seen it here for the last few hours because of all the rainfall. So as a result, and just because of that, the atmosphere is going to gradually start to cool down in our area. So this is just one view of that, and we'll show you how this changes over time. Take you to 10 o'clock tonight. Again, central, south Alabama, that's where the bigger thunderstorm energy is. It stays low to almost non-existent as the evening wears on, and as I put this into motion even more, you're going to continue to see this atmospheric energy really start to disappear across North Alabama. So the threat is going to continue to diminish across the area. That's one piece of data, one computer model. Let me show you another one if the numbers will come in here. Sometimes it takes a moment to pull that in. But this is just another computer model. And again, same sort of thing. This one maybe has a better handle on it, showing a lack of thunderstorm fuel across most of north and northeast Alabama. As we put this into motion, nothing gets better with time. It goes away overnight and on into tomorrow. So that is the primary limiting factor that we are seeing out there with, again, the storm activity coming on through. Again, won't rule out something isolated, strong, that develops within this. We've certainly seen that at times. But right now, there's just nothing that's real imminent, particularly in terms of a tornado threat. Really, if anything, we've got more of a problem with flooding just because of the rainfall. We're picking up rain, the rate of about 1 inch to some cases 2 inches per hour. This is on top of what has fallen in recent hours, what fell late last night, early tomorrow morning. So continuing to get reports of flooding. And we actually have more flood warnings in effect than severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings in our area. That's all of these little green boxes drawn in. That really covers most of North Alabama and southern Middle Tennessee at this point. So I'm expecting our biggest impact is going to be flooding potential. Let's see here, update from the Weather Service, watching a pair of cells undergoing some recent strengthening in Jackson and Franklin County, Tennessee. Again, that's where we have the severe thunderstorm warning, basically within that severe warning area. And again, there's going to be some fluctuations in these storms. They're going to go up and down. And again, out here towards Colbert, Franklin County, heavier storm activity, but nothing that looks overly concerning at this point. Again, flash flood warnings continue to come on in. You know, some of these storms embedded within the larger area of rain, exhibiting signs of rotation, but you know, just nothing that is particularly alarming. So with that said, I think for the moment, we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap up the live streaming here, as there's really, I don't have a whole lot to add at this point. We're getting towards the end of the tornado watch. Again, I'll be surprised if it's extended into the evening hours, but I won't rule that out. That's above my pay grade to make those decisions. Someone else does within the National Weather Service. They'll make that determination. But I think it would be a little surprising if it is, given the situation and the overall threat looks like it's going to remain pretty low. But still want you to keep an eye on things, as we will as well. Another look here at what we have going on 31 triple Doppler, and again, it's just a lot of rain, some embedded thunderstorm activity, occasionally some of these embedded storms packing a little bit of a punch, but nothing that is real extreme out there right now. We'll also continue to do some live updates on air, so if you're watching 31 on television or any streaming TV service that you have, we'll continue to provide some updates, top of the hour, is when we've been doing those with the latest that's going on. But at this point, I think I'll be keeping those brief, as there's not a whole lot that we're tracking that is going to be more impactful than just a lot of rainfall. But I'll take a quick look here, roll back on over to the Facebook, and just check my Facebook page. And by the way, I know a lot of you who are maybe watching right now, first-time visitors to my Facebook page, have started following. I really appreciate that. And it's important to stay weather aware. And there are a lot of people, particularly since not everyone watches the local news anymore. You know, sometimes I worry there's a lack of information that's getting out, sometimes a lack of credible information that's getting out. So I appreciate and value every one of you that's tuning in here on the live feed to get that information. Because it's important, and we know the weather can and does occasionally have big impacts on all of our lives. So it's important to stay weather aware. And you know, I always try in my weather coverage to just kind of tell it like it is, and like I'm saying now, even though we were concerned that there was going to be this significant tornado threat, it's just not transpired, and I don't really see that is likely to change. But let me check here. Sometimes Facebook, well, you know, it can be, it's not bringing up the comments, even though I've got the live feed here. Let me try a refresh. I do like to tackle any questions that folks may have. Okay, here we go. Let's see, it's loading in. Let me get down here to the most recent comments. Someone asking again, Huntsville, you know, just a lot of rain right now. That's about it. Strongest storms we've got out here towards northwest Alabama and the Shoals. Nothing that is severe. Dylan asking about, is Florence good? And again, this is kind of the tail end out here. So once you've got some heavier activity coming through Florence, Muscle Shoals right now. Unlikely anything more significance going to develop behind that. So once this clears from Muscle Shoals back towards Red Bay, for instance, that's kind of the tail end. So you're almost done in the shoals for any severe weather threat. And that's about it for the recent comments. So we're going to continue to watch. You know, if there's a reason to be back on, we will, both online, on air. But again, this appears to be, for most of us, not a big concern. Again, I will watch back out here towards the west. That's where we have some heavier storm activity in through parts of Franklin as well as Colbert County. We'll see if any of this turns into anything. And of course, we would be back on streaming at that point, and any on-air coverage necessary as well. But for now, I think we're just going to take a little breather. We are going to continue to watch, but over the next couple of hours, this threat for any severe weather potential is going to continue to wind on down. But stay weather aware and make sure you have a way to get any alerts just in case any additional ones are issued for North Alabama. Otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in this afternoon and sticking with us. Always better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. And I'm very thankful this did not turn out the way and has not turned out the way thus far that we thought it could. And that's always a good thing. I never want severe weather to happen. I don't like to have to track it. I know that it's necessary, and unfortunately, it's just kind of what we have to do sometimes. But I'm glad this did not pan out and has not panned out the way it looked like it could turn out. Again, we'll watch kind of the tail end, the back end here, as this continues to move in across North Alabama, and we'll keep you updated on anything that you need to know. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday and a safe evening and a great rest of the weekend ahead.